Everybody, welcome back to another fun and exciting intermediate math class. Today we are going to be launching out into lesson 1.6 in your book, and that is talking about the order of operation. What is the order of operation? What does that mean? Well, it means the order in which you do a math problem, because you need to make sure that you do it in the right order. If you don't, you'll get the wrong answer. Look on page number 24 in your book, page number 24, and you will see a listing on page number 24. I've basically written it right here for you. So you can look here on the screen, look in your book. You should be writing this down in a notebook, right? That's going to help you to learn it. Maybe some of you already know this, and this is just review. Maybe some of you have used different things to help you remember this. Sometimes people use PEMDAS, and I'll tell you, I don't like PEMDAS, so I don't use it. And the reason why is because I feel like PEMDAS confuses you more than it helps you. So I think that just memorizing these four simple steps will help you to solve these better than PEMDAS will. Okay, so let's jump into it. Let's talk about the order of operation. Number one, the first thing that we want to do when we're solving a math problem is we want to simplify within grouping symbols. And that means parentheses, brackets, braces, and fraction bars. These are different ways that these problems will be grouped. So a parenthesis, you probably know what a parenthesis looks like, right? That's from English or just from using it in math class. Brackets would look like basically just something like that. Braces, I'm really bad at drawing braces, so I don't really even try. I just make them ugly and then you just deal with it. And then a fraction bar is literally just like a fraction bar. Now, when you're talking about the fraction bar, we're going to do some of these at the end of the lesson. So I'll just kind of leave that there, and then we'll talk about why that's a grouping symbol and how to solve that grouping symbol. But let's just leave it there for now. Those are the four that you really need to know. When you see those, you need to do inside of those. Now, here's something that might happen. What if you have a problem and it has like a brace, and then it's like 3, and then a parenthesis, and then 2 plus 1, and then a closed parenthesis, and then we have like minus 7, and then a bracket. Okay, so now here's the question: what do I do first in this case? Because I have both brackets and parentheses in the same problem. The way that you would solve this is you always do the inside first. So the innermost parenthesis or bracket or brace or fraction bar, and then you work your way out. So you work from inside out. So in this case, we would do the 2 plus 1 first. So we would still have a bracket, and we'd have 3, and then we'd have a parenthesis, and then we'd have a 3, close parenthesis, minus 7, and then the bracket, closing it. Okay, so all we did was solved inside of that one, and then we would go from there, and then we'd follow the rest of the order of operation at that point. So if you do get one where you have multiples, like multiple symbols in the same one, always work from the inside out. That's going to be the best way for you to solve those. Number two, we want to solve any exponents that we have. Sometimes you don't have any brackets or braces, and you can go right to step number 2. Sometimes you have step number 1, but you don't have step number 2. There's no exponents in it, so you would just skip that step and go to number 3. So it's not like you do this with every single problem and you have to do this every single time. Sometimes you're going to have different ones that have exponents but don't have parentheses. Sometimes you'll have multiplication, but you won't have any exponents. You'll have different things going on like that. So just pay attention to every problem. Every problem is just a little bit different, and you'll need to solve those each individually. You can't really have one set of rules that works for every single one. So everything's going to have little different intricacies, and you just have to figure those out once you get there. But use these steps to guide you through each problem. All right, number 3. We're going to multiply and divide from left to right. What does that mean? Well, that means that if I have a division, let's say 10 over 2, and then we'll just do that times 4. You might say, what are you doing? Why did you put a parenthesis on the 4? Well, let's kind of skip down here, this right here. We are going to multiply. We're not always looking for an x anymore, right? The x means multiply, but we're getting closer and closer to algebra class. So because of that, we don't use the x anymore. You might see it sometimes still, but for the most part, the x is going to go away, and you're going to see a couple different things. You're going to see a raised dot. So let me write this with a raised dot, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So a dot here, and then a 4. Now that's not a decimal, right? The decimal would be like down here. That's a decimal. But this is a raised dot. It's halfway up the line. That means multiply. The other thing that you can have is when there's no sign at all, okay? So if I put a 4 here. Now the problem with doing that is that it's confusing. So look, if I solve this, and if I do notice we're doing multiply or divide from left to right. So I have to do this one first because it's on the left. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. Look what happens if I don't do anything there. All of a sudden it says 54. Now I know that we're supposed to multiply this, right? So what do we do to help us to remember to multiply? We put this parenthesis there. So there's no sign, it's just divided by a parenthesis, you would multiply. So in this case, 10 divided by 2 is 5, and then we know that it's times 4 because there's no sign. So if you go back here, there's no sign separating the numbers. We know we're going to multiply. The answer to this would be 20. Okay, so we're going to do multiply and divide, whichever one comes first, from left to right. Okay. Then step number 4, we're going to do the same thing with add and subtract. We're going to do whichever one of those comes first, starting on the left and going to the right. Students get messed up right here, especially when they've learned PEMDAS. And I'll show you what PEMDAS stands for. PEMDAS is parenthesis, right? We go back up here and we get parenthesis, that's the P. And then we have exponents, that's the E. Now look, this is where students can get messed up. They can say multiply, that's right there, and divide, that's right there. So they say, oh, I have to multiply first. No, you don't. Okay, that is a big, big problem with PEMDAS, and that's why I don't use it. We multiply or divide whichever one comes first. It doesn't matter. If divide comes first, then you divide first. If multiply comes first, then you multiply first. Same thing with addition and subtraction. Okay, so let's go ahead and start practicing these. Let's do some of these and see how they turn out. All right, here we go. So we just need to follow the order of operation in this problem. So we're going to go back up to our steps, and we're just going to say, okay, what do we do first? First step was to do the groupings, to do inside the groupings, inside the parentheses, brackets. Well, as you can see here, we do have parentheses, but there's nothing inside of the parentheses to solve. It's already solved. We have a 2 and an 8. So we don't need to do anything in that step, so we would go to step number 2. Step number 2 is exponents. Again, there are no exponents in this problem, so we can go ahead and skip to step number 3. Step number 3 says to do multiplication or division, whichever one comes first from left to right. So if you'll look at this, we do have some multiplication over here. Remember, if there's no sign, then we multiply. So there's no sign between those two numbers, so we will multiply. Now, this is something that I do every single time, and if you don't do this, don't complain when you get the wrong answer. I rewrite the whole thing except for the little part that I do. So in other words, the only part that I'm doing is this right here. So I'm just going to rewrite 4 minus 3 plus 3 plus, and then I'm going to go ahead and do that. So 2 times 8 is 16. Okay? And now what I want to do is I want to go to the next step because there's no more multiplication or division. So the last step is adding or subtracting, whichever comes first, from left to right. So we'll go here, and again, I'm going to rewrite this every single time so you can see these steps. And I highly recommend that you do the same thing here if you want to get the correct answer. 4 minus 3 is 1. 1 plus 3 plus 16. Okay? And then I'll go and I'll do the next piece. And so 1 plus 3 is 4 plus 16. And then I'll go ahead and do the last piece here. 4 plus 16 is going to be 20. So my answer to that problem is 20. What I always tell students is you kind of want this like V shape happening, right? You want to funnel it down so that you continue to solve it, simplify, 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 and then you come up with one answer at the end. Some students try to do it without doing that, and it's a mess. I'm telling you, I've taught this enough. Don't try that, okay? Do it step by step. Take the time that it takes to do that. All right, so the next one here, we want to look at this question, and we want to say, okay, order of operation tells me to do exponents first, right? No. Order of operation tells me to do my groupings first. So you want to go ahead and you want to do the parentheses, brackets, braces, fraction bar. So that's the first thing here. So I'm going to do the parentheses. I'm going to solve within the parentheses. So I have 2 with the 3 exponent cubed plus, and then I'm going to have 6 minus 1, and that's going to be 5. Now, I can leave that in a parenthesis if you want, but I don't have to because there is a sign here, so it'll be fine if I don't put that in a parenthesis. And now I'm going to do exponents next, so I would do 2 cubed. What is 2 cubed? 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. So now I would have 8 plus 5. Just add that up, and I would get 13 as my answer there. Okay? Just follow your order of operation. Same thing here. We're going to go ahead and do inside the parenthesis first. If you notice that once I get inside the parenthesis, my first thing that I need to do is I need to do my exponent because exponents come before addition. So I would get 6 times 3 squared, which is 3 times 3, so that's going to be 9, and that's a plus 1. Still in the parentheses. I have not solved the parentheses. All I did was solve this right now. So now I'm still inside the parentheses. 6 times 10, and that would be 60 would be my answer there. Okay? Step by step, piece by piece. All right, couple more, and I told you I was going to get to these by the end of the video, and here we are. So now when you have a fraction bar, what you want to do is it's almost like you put the top of the fraction bar and the bottom of the fraction bar in parentheses. That's the way I like to think of it. But you're just going to solve the top fraction bar, and then you're going to solve the bottom fraction bar, and then you're going to do the division, because a fraction bar means division, right? Okay, good. So 27 plus 3 is going to give us 30 over 10. Now we just do the division. One way to do this would just be canceling the zeros, and you'd get 3 over 1, and obviously that equals 3. That would be our answer there. Pretty simple solution there. All right, this one's a little bit more complicated. This will take us just a few seconds here to kind of work this out step by step. So we're going to do this top. Remember I said to put these in parentheses. That's what this really is. The top of the fraction bar is its own thing, and the bottom's its own thing. We have to do those before we can actually divide. All right, so let's go ahead and work this out. Let's work the top part. The first thing that we come to is this exponent. Remember, always do the order of operation, even though you're inside the parentheses. Still stick with your order of operation. So we're going to have 6 squared, and that's going to give us 6 times 6 is 36, minus 2 times 12, okay? And that's going to be over 18 minus, and I can go ahead and do this one too, and 4 times 4 is going to be 16. All right, so we're simplifying it as we go, and what we want to do now is continue to follow order of operation. We can follow order of operation there and get 36 minus, because this is multiplication, that comes before subtraction, and we're going to get 2 times 12, and it's 24. And then I'll go ahead and just write 18 minus 16 there. And then now we have two subtraction problems. So we just say 36 minus 24 gives me 12, and 18 minus 16 gives me 4. Now I have a simple division problem. Now I can finally do my division step. This is like the whole problem was in the top step, right? In the parentheses and brackets and fraction bar. So I finally got my fraction bar solved. And now I just have one step, and that is division left. And so I'm just going to divide that, and I'm going to get 12 divided by 4 is going to give me 3. So my final answer for that one would be 3. One thing that you should always do for your answers is circle your answers. That way your teacher can see them. So circle those answers, and hopefully you can be proud of that you got the right answer. Be proud of it if you got the wrong answer. I mean, you worked hard on that, right? And it's okay to get the wrong answer on these. Sometimes you will get the wrong answer. It's not a big deal. Circle it, and let the teacher know, hey, this is my answer, and this is what I think it is. And then they can see what you did. If you did it wrong, they can help you go through and fix the problem. So, all right, well, that's all I have for you in this lesson. If you missed anything, make sure to slide it back, watch it again, work on that order of operation, memorize those steps. Parentheses first, fraction bars, all those things. Exponents, multiplication and division from left to right, very important. Then addition and subtraction, again, from left to right, very important. All right, we'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.